Without even question, the first person that came to my head as soon as I read it was my grandma, who is now my right-hand angel. In her life, literally was the most important person to me. It's called Three Trees. Basically, I go up to the three trees, just look out over this amazing view of Wirksworth and the valley that it sits in. It's just peace there, you know, and I sometimes sit with my back to one of the trees. I've had profound moments speaking to Grandma. It's just a place that I love to be. Of course, I know what my treasured possession is. This beautiful Joodaboo crystal necklace. And this was part of me realizing, actually, I can wear jewelry. I can wear necklaces.
Hello, and welcome back to These Three Things, the podcast that asks which person, place, and treasured possession have made a profound impact upon your life and why. Today, my guest is the actor, MC, comic, main stage host, and all-round creative engineer and event organiser, Chris Fitchew. Having studied acting at Arts Ed Theatre School in the early noughties, Chris's career has taken him from TV and film studios to sell-out arenas, main festival stages, luxury hotels across the world, and into wellness retreats. He is also the founder and creative director behind the Wonderment Group, producing theatrical and immersive events across the world with the values of wellness and well-being at their very core. His passion for bringing audiences together with heartfelt and interactive performance are what he is best known for. He says, "My shows have both power and purpose. They are always a mix of the flamboyant, the outrageous, but above all, they are fun. I want my audience to leave feeling decompressed, recharged, having laughed out loud, and feeling empowered." There are not many festivals this summer where you won't find him doing exactly that on stage. And I can lay testament to the fact that if you want a frontman to lead your audience very skillfully from the sublime to the cool blimey and back, there is no better performer out there than him. It is a great privilege and pleasure of mine to invite Chris on this show. Chris, welcome. Can I start by asking you, as I have all of my guests, which of the lists did you find the most difficult to choose and why?
Well, hello, by the way. Thank you so much for having me on this wonderful podcast. And thanks for that great introduction.
You're very welcome.
It's always so funny when you hear yourself spoken about with because I do so many different things. And yeah, anyway, it's nice to have you said those things in one place. And thanks so much. But that's it. I mean, the most difficult was genuinely the place, because there are so many places that have affected me and places that I think of fondly, places that have, maybe not even so fondly, but have had a profound effect on me. But I've honed it to one. So yeah, ready to explain and share.
I can't wait to hear your list. It's so funny because I ask this question to people and some people really struggle with the person. And then they say, oh no, the person came to me straight away. I mean, for me, it's the person because there's so many I could choose. And the place was really obvious. So yeah, okay, why don't we just get stuck in then? Tell me, which person have you chosen to speak about and why?
So this was the easiest on the list, and without even question, the first person that came to my head as soon as I read it was my grandma, Olive Kelly, my grandma, who is now my right-hand angel, who, yeah, in her life, literally was the most important person to me. Our relationship was so close. Our bond was so obvious to everybody. Even like everybody else in the family. My grandma and I were the soulmates on Earth, and it was beautiful, really. I mean, it was, and it was specifically in her wind down, as I call it, at the end, where I spent a lot of time with her, helping her wind down and cross over, to the other side, when I realised how close we were, how close our bond was.
How beautiful. So Olive Kelly, was this on mum or dad's side?
So my mum's side, my family are quite funny. We've got like two different households. My mum comes from an Irish background, quite, very poor, council estate. Her dad, my granddad was, in and out of prison. Real struggle of upbringing, a lot of violence in the house that my grandma sort of obviously dealt with. She had two daughters, one being my mother and a son. And her daughter and her son, my grandma's daughter and son, died actually quite young, as in their 50s. So my mum is this remaining daughter of hers. And so my dad's side was very military and very middle class Derbyshire, and was the squadron leader. His dad was the squadron leader in the war, the highest accolade in the Royal Air Force. And, my mum and dad got together, and obviously it was like two households, both alike in undignity in Derbyshire, where we lay our scene. And, it was a real mishmash. So, my grandma on my mum's side, she fought a lot, for her kids. She looked after us a lot as children, because my mum was working a lot on nights and as a nurse. So she really shaped our upbringing. And I just remember, so many times when we'd just be singing our old war songs, and we knew all the war songs because she would sing them with us. We'd go for endless walks, which I now realise were actually just her walking us from her house back to my house, which was actually about an hour away. And she'd walk over the back fields, singing these songs, making it really fun. And, and actually looking back, she would just do nothing but bring joy to us. It's quite serious, actually. Her mission was to make sure that we, had joy, that we had adventure, that we had play, and that we were ourselves. And, one thing I know that I now step forward as myself. And as, see, as a child, there was a lot of not being myself, being gay. I basically hid it. But she was someone who always knew, and she always let me play with her little headscarves, and she always, sang along with me and saw the joy it brought me. And actually, and then into teenagehood, and she was actually the person that finally, I actually say my grandma outed me. It was my grandma that basically brought it to light. It was when I was 19, and she was...
Tell me about that. I'd love to know. What happened?
Well, I was quite good in the closet. I just got busy at school. I was like full on, I was like everybody's friend before anyone could bully me. So I was like, so I was in the rugby team. I was on the debating society. I was the pupil representative. I played like all the instruments in the orchestra, just to bamboozle everyone. It was a PR smear, but it also helped what I now know is a smidge of the ADHD. But actually, when I was sort of 19, 20, I started to not care. I'd moved to London. I started to be like, actually, mid-Derbyshire is not the be-all and end-all. And the opinions of the narrow-minded people of that area of the country during that period aren't so bothered. So I sort of let my guard down, would hang around with, very obvious gay people, which I normally wouldn't, and hide. It was awful, really, when you think about it. But we all sat round a fire at my auntie's house, and I remember us all just sat, as we did as a family. Very lovely gatherings. Our family's very close. And my grandma just out of nowhere, so then, Chris, what's this rumour about you being gay? And I was like, Grandma, in front of the whole family. And my mum just got up and stormed out, and everybody was, I was like, well, I'm not going to label myself like all of you lot. I might be gay, I might be bi, but I was so mortified, but horrified, but also when looking back, it was so funny. Like my grandma, some character out of an Alan Bennett play, and it was just so funny because she wanted me to just be me. She wanted me to be me, and she wanted all. She really did to encourage that with all of us, and all my siblings are all very true to themselves. And I know our parents, my mum and dad, are amazing parents, and, you know, and that's a whole other episode of something, but, you know, my grandma really did shape us. And also she's hilarious. I mean, everybody who met her, she was off the cuff. I mean, I do account any of my sort of wit and quick-wittedness and flow that I use on stage a lot is attributed to her. Like, the things she'd come out, because she almost had like no filter, but you can have no filter when your intentions is good and your heart and soul is good. And she was that. So I think subliminally she taught me that.
Olive, so could you tell me a little bit about the wind down? Were you with her when she passed?
Yeah, well, so basically her mind, as I say, was so bright.
Yeah.
And
how old did she live till?
So she lived to the grand old age of 91. So, I mean, so blessed. I mean, you know, when people lose their parents at a young age or grandparents, I can't, you know, I'm so, so grateful and so lucky that, you know, I've got my parents still, and I had this amazing time with my grandma. And so when she lost her two children, you know, when she was about 75, you know, she went to deep grief. She lost my uncle and my aunt both to cancer within 6 months, both completely separate, obviously, situations. But, you know, and she just went into herself. And she very soon after that started with, you know, Alzheimer's. And it was funny because it wasn't fun. Well, actually, there were funny moments, hilarious moments, as you can imagine. But with Alzheimer's, there's always different stages. And so the first stage is like when you know they're getting it and they just start forgetting things. And you're just like, oh, here we go. And so you just try and cocoon them as much as possible. Then she went to the angry stage, which is just awful. But then she quickly went to the sort of confusion stage. And then I realized I just developed an amazing relationship with her. Well, I already had an amazing relationship, but an amazing relationship with her and her Alzheimer's. I just knew what to do. I knew what to say or what not to say. If she showed confusion, you wouldn't sort of, like, with respect to my mom, get a bit frustrated, and people do. I think when you're that close, mother and daughter, you know, you get very frustrated. And my grandma, she and I just developed this almost like, I mean, we're like a comedy show. And she would do something and I would just distract her. She would get confused and I would bring in a song that she used to sing to us. And she knew every word till the very end.
Will you share a song with me? What would you sing to her? That's what I'd love to. What would you sing to her when she is in that stage?
Well, I mean, the funny one was like, she had this, there was cheese, enough to make you sneeze in the stores. My eyes are blue, I cannot see, I have not brought my specs with me. Have not bought my specs with me. And then you go, there with Chris, need dying for it. And then she'd laugh, in the start. And we'd go on and on and on. She'd sing war songs, Bluebird's Over. She'd sing, she loved Black. And like little funny ones from the wall, like black out, mind that pillar, mind that post, you know, all the sort of physical ones.
You were with her when she passed? Were you actually by her side?
So this is the thing. So towards the end, when she was really... And also, you know, by the way, she, on the day, the days before, she knew the Lord's Prayer till the day... You know, she had really bad Alzheimer's. She knew we always used to do the Lord's Prayer. And I actually recorded her on like one of the last times, and I've got this recording. And I listen to it every now and again. It's just beautiful because she makes the Lord's Prayer make sense. Do you know what I mean? Like when you were little, you used to do the Lord's Prayer. It was like very parody. She would say it and it made sense. She would have these moments where my mum would ring me and I'd be in London. She'd be like, your grandma's going. You know, she's in a comatose state. It's going to be any day. So I'd race up. She'd literally on her deathbed, and my grandma just would, like, as soon as I walk in the room, from literally not drinking, eating, speaking, and she'd just go, oh, all right, love, cool, I've got a cup of tea. My energy got her, it literally got her out of her space. And I was like, my mum was like, what's going on? She was literally ready to go, you know. And then there was like, just before my 40th birthday, and I would always want, because I wanted to be there so badly at the end. I wanted to see her last breath. I was so close to her. You know, I feel that actually when you have Alzheimer's, your brain shuts down. And I feel one of my real feelings, and I can't obviously prove this, but my beliefs, and this is solace to people who go through Alzheimer's or dealing with people with Alzheimer's. Obviously, it's worse for the people around. Is that actually your soul is crossing over in a much more slower way. You're dancing between the two worlds. You know, you're in your body, you're in the ether, because your brain is being removed. You're using parts of the brain that either never were used, never should have been used, or, you know. And so she would get really supernatural, and she would I would be in, you know, a sort of a winding back a bit. Sorry to jump around the story, but about a year before, I remember being in the kitchen and her doing something really cantankerous. And I would never lose my cool with her, never, ever. My mother did. But she would, she shouted something really cantankerous to me. And in my head, and I swear to, you know, in God's name, I said, "Oh, shove it up your arse." But in my head, I didn't mouth it, I didn't speak it, and I was in a different room. And the second I said it, she shouted, "You can shove it up your arse." And I knew she read my mind at that point. And it was things like that, you know, I'd had a night in London, one of those crazy nights that one has, not going into too much detail, but I sort of sheepishly went up to see her on the Monday. This is another occasion. She's like, "Where have you been?" In all those dark clubs underground with men. I was like, "Grandma, please do not enter this world." But it was just she became supernatural. And so every time I went back up, this happened 3 or 4 times, you know, and then one of the times was 3 days for my 40th birthday party. My birthday party is Christmas Day. My birthday is Christmas Day. And for the first time ever, I was doing an event in a big venue, big house we'd hired with all my friends and all my family. And 3 days before, my mum was like, "She's going." I was like, "She is not gonna go on my 40th birthday." I said, "Sorry, darling, no, Grandma." And I was like, "No, this is not gonna happen." And I think she went in. I did something I never would do, really, because she was on her way down, and this time she didn't step up. She didn't do what she normally does. So I did some proper energy work on her and some Reiki. I was like, "Sorry, no," and basically resurrected her energetically, which was, some might say, selfish, but no, she had to be there at my 40th, and she was. And she was the belle of the ball. She was hilarious. She was just so fabulous. And 30 days later, literally 30 days later, I was in London again, and my mum said she is about to go. So she is about to go. I said, "I'm not going to go up because I don't need to.
It's time to go.
I don't need to be there."
No.
And I am. And, I can be with her here.
Of course.
I know how spirit works. I don't need to be physically jolting her out. You know, when you die, it's actually a really private thing. You don't need, your...
What year was this, Chris? How many years ago?
5, because I'm 45. So, and she passed, and
God rest her and bless her, Olive Kelly. She said, knowing you the way I do, and maybe I should tell the listener, I first met this man in 2002 in the canteen corridor of Arts Educational School in Chiswick, West London. And I remember of all these actors and musicians and just these theatrical beings all bouncing around under one roof. There was one that caught my eye as just a bottle of pop, which was you. And now as you're describing Olive, I can feel where you get it from, and when I lean into what you produce on stage and how you interact with your audiences, it's lovely to hear where that comes through in the ancestry and where you call upon it, and as you say, they don't have to be here for us to still feel them and talk to them. I think that was just such a beautiful snapshot of the person that's made the most profound impact on you and why. Thank you. Can I now go on to your place? Because you said this was the most difficult one in choosing.
Oh,
I'd love to know where you've chosen.
Well, it's an interesting one because, like you want to. I mean, I've had, I went to Peru to the Amazon jungle and did an ayahuasca ceremony, an ayahuasca retreat that you can on paper say went horribly wrong, but actually in the long run it went perfectly right.
Perfectly
Because
right,
again,
yeah.
it created me who I am. But actually, I just feel it's not somewhere I think about fondly in a way like, I think it's not right to sort of honour. But it's interesting how it was first place that came to my mind, because obviously what happened there totally affected me. And then I was like, well, I also sat with John of God in Abujamra in Brazil, and I had an amazing time there. I remember being there thinking this is the best place on earth. But, like there's a whole narrative around him at the moment, like he's basically been, accused of stuff I personally don't think he's done, because I think the Brazilian government have trapped him because he was doing such good work. He was healing people. But that's also a bit of we didn't really want to talk about that. And then there's just loads of places. And then I was thinking, Frome, where I now live, is like the best place to live. I'm obsessed with it. And then I was thought, well, no, actually, there's one place. And I also, I thought of this, but I thought, it kind of ties into Grandma again. So I don't want the whole show to be about Grandma, but unfortunately, it is the place where I literally go and have profound moments and have deep connections, not only with my grandma, but also with my aunt, but also with my spirit guides, also with my, just self. And it's called Three Trees.
3 trees,
Right?
okay.
3 trees. So imagine this. So my sister, God bless her, who's amazing, she has done really, really well. She's bought this beautiful sort of this old mill factory that she's created a house where she lives on the top 2 floors with her husband and 2 kids. And then she's made an amazing flat home for my mother. And so when my grandma was there, she was also living with my mother, and everyone was there. It was just, really beautiful to know that your mom's always, there and looked after. So I'm still sleeping. And still, Mum was always there, looked after by my sister, and my mum helps them. It's a beautiful thing. And it's in Wirksworth, which is a beautiful market town, a very creative town in Wirksworth, right just before you go into the Peak District. So a beautiful Derbyshire town. It's so glorious. And actually, I used to live near there. I was born and raised there. And I had a very idyllic childhood where, you can leave the house in the morning, come back in the evening, have dens and adventures and really, you sort of, can't wait to get out when you're a sort of gay teenager who wants to get to London quick but then when I go back, it's like, wow, especially when I take friends, go back to Derby, it's just beautiful. And so behind my sister's house is basically, a huge farm and fields, literally, like it goes up. And it goes right to the top. And there's like a knoll, let's call it a mount. Let's call it a mount. It looks like it sort of juts out. It's almost like a pride rock. And behind it are 3 beautiful oak trees. And, this whole land is it's very historic. There used to be lead mines on this hill. Wirksworth is a mining town. It's had, it's been through all the different phases. You can feel it, very powerful. It's on ley lines. It's right near the 9 Ladies, which is a stone circle. You forget that actually it's not all about Somerset and Glastonbury and, and Stonehenge with all this sort of energetic power. And Derbyshire's really, now I've realised, the same. And so basically I go up to the 3 trees or the knoll and just look out over this amazing view of Wirksworth and the valley that it sits in. And it's just peace there, and I sometimes sit with my back to one of the trees. I sometimes pray out to the ether. Like I said, I've had profound moments speaking to Grandma and and it's just a place that I love to be. And when I go to Derby, I'm like, just going up to, I now call it Grandma's Mount because it's like some really mad stuff happened up there. I'm just going up to Grandma's Mount, and I'll just go up there. It's like a place, and I'll go back home and I'll be excited and, look forward to popping up.
These 3 trees, I imagine, very majestic, very stately in their sort of grounding. Are they sort of triangle formation or in a line? Do they all sort of talk to each other?
Oh, they're in a perfect triangle.
Really? So you can sit right in the centre. You could literally be in the centre of these 3.
So actually, you know what? No, it's more. So imagine the 3 trees here.
Yeah.
And then jutting. Then you sort of go out to the mountain, and then the mount, literally, like if you imagine, it sticks out of the side of the hill. So it's like they look out the mount. So I'll either sit with a tree, or I'll either be on the mount. I haven't actually sat in the middle. I've not even thought about sitting in the middle. It just hasn't called. There are fairy circles that I'd sit in, and there's all sorts of various places that are very fairy circle-esque, but these are like 3 power trees. And my mom has Bagseed. My mom is called one of the trees my grandma. One of the trees is my aunt. And the other tree, even though like we do have fond memories of the uncle that died, he's not one of the trees. He's probably the crow that sits on the tree. But the other tree I know for a fact is going to be my mom. I just know it's going to be the 3 things. And I'm sure the whole of Wirksworth has basically claimed it as their 3 trees. And historically, it used to be a place where the town used to meet, because they knew there is a sacredity of it and a sacredness, sorry. But yeah, it's really powerful and just I'll take you up there, Deborah.
I'd love you to. I'd love to see that. I've got a picture of it now clearly in my mind, but I love the thought of you sort of like coming home, knowing the busyness of your life and how international that is, and that you're never in one place for long. That actually when you get there and you park yourself for a little minute and you drop a bag, to go and sit there is your sort of connection point to your whole beginning. It's where you're, like you said, when you've been on that journey as you were as a young boy and coming out, and to where your life is now as the front and centre stage man. It's to see you there in those trees. It's almost just like that quiet resting place where nothing else exists, where you can just be with yourself. There's no showman, there's no performance. It's just you in nature with your spirit.
Exactly. And it's funny because people, obviously, like you say, they only see me like running around stages and having a ball. And, I love my work. I mean, I live and breathe it. It's effortless now. I mean, obviously, through the years of traumatic, failures and doing like, performances in Edinburgh Festival to one person, and even doing performances in Edinburgh where I've had to stop the show because it was going so bad and everyone walking out, and then going back the next day and it being amazing. And, all these sorts of moments where I can now do what I do in a way, and especially linking my spiritual side with my entertainment performance side, which I used to keep all very separate. I was like, I've got my retreats over here, and I've got my like crazy parties and, and shows here. Never the twain shall meet. But actually, the minute I did, made life so much better. And it was obviously around the sort of in and around lockdown. No, it was before, but I knew the calling was for me to just, and then now, like I said, I'll do, very spiritual events with a showmanship and an entertainment and a gloriousness that hasn't been seen in spiritual conscious events. And I'll also do very, parties and festivals and corporate and private events and members parties where I'll bring in the spirit side, and have gong baths, to open the event. But people always do, they're like, oh, when do you relax? How do you always on it? Do you not burn out? And yeah, I've burnt out in the past. I've got myself into the right pickle. That's why I had to go and do the healing in the first place. That's why I had to go to the jungle. That's why I'm always doing healing. I'm doing Cambo on Friday to cleanse ready for the summer. But just having these places like to go to where it doesn't matter. The only person that's there is yourself and or your spirit guides, grandma and God. So, it's a wonderful thing.
I don't know about you, but if I ever ask, if I'm ever amongst trees and I'm connecting particularly with one spirit, and I know that the answer is outright yes or no, the leaves start shaking really loudly and really vibrantly. It's funny how you can talk with trees and just get the sense of what message you need to hear that day. And it's very personal, it's very specific to you and your heart.
And you know what I love about all the tree work and things like that? So many more people are doing it now. I remember obviously back in the hippie times, people were like, oh, the hippie tree huggers. And then, in the last 10 years, people are like, now everybody does it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so looking forward to seeing you this summer on stage, be it medicine or wilderness, of which we'll go to both. And, I remember you last year so fondly, and you came off one stage. It was the wine tasting stage with the drag queens. And you said to me at Wilderness, I've just been given a budget for next year that is just phenomenal. And I thought, fair play, I saw you in 2002 as an actor leaving Arts Ed. Here we are in 2024, where you host the main stage at these global international festivals, and you're creatively running the show. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. Thank you for introducing me to Three Trees in Wirksworth, did you say?
Wirksworth.
Wirksworth,
yeah,
Derbyshire.
Thank you, yeah.
And then, okay, let me, if we may, go on to your treasured possession. What have you chosen and why?
So this was okay. Firstly, when I first read this, I was like, I don't have attachment to anything. I'm not really. I lose a lot as well. This is my worst. All my friends will say I'm the worst person, and I really want to get better at it. I don't know if it's a hypnotherapy thing or different sort of I don't know, more lion's mane in the morning or something. But I lose. So I don't. The attachment to objects. It fits in the hand. It's However, and I never wear jewelry, and because I can't wear rings, and I don't wear earrings. However, when I sat and thought, I was like, of course I know what my treasured possession is. And actually, it's quite funny. So this beautiful Joodaboo crystal necklace. This is Labradorite. And this was part of me realizing actually I can wear jewelry. I can wear necklaces because A, they feel right. B, you can't really lose them. I also I also have another necklace from Joodaboo, and I'm going to talk about her in a minute and how it all came about. Literally, and this is funny, so it's here on my side, and I'm going to show you like this because it has actually, it needs to go to the Crystal Hospital. It needs to go back to Joodaboo because it's just come apart. And it's a wonderful clear quartz at the bottom. We have angelite, we have labradorite, we have a whole thing. It's a beautiful sacred thing. I mean, she and I made it early part last year. And she said it's to go basically with your labradorite and to fit underneath. And maybe actually we can attach a picture of me wearing it after this. But basically the thing is it broke, and it's like, oh my God. But the thing about when it breaks, it's like it was in a moment of like high energy. It's a really high, powerful energy piece. She actually said, Chris, this is for when you do your ceremonies. When you hold space, when I hold ceremonies at Wonderment or medicine or I do a lot of opening ceremonies now at festivals, which I find really vital. Even like Secret Garden Party last year, I was there creating the big main stage show on the Saturday night. And I said to Freddie, I said, the past parties have been really weird energy. You're not doing an opening ceremony. You need to honor these festivals. You don't need to be, banging on. You can create something that's bespoke and personal to you. So I hold ceremonies. And but the problem is with this necklace, I love it so much that I wear it every day because actually, let's face it, every day is a ceremony. It's like, however, wear it every day and just energetically, going into, and when you go into London, the energies and the EMFs and everything. Anyway, I was walking along, it just fell apart. So it's annoying that my favorite possession is currently about today, literally going to go into the Crystal Hospital. But yeah, it was, so I've still got this one.
Yeah, so just for the listeners who maybe don't watch the show, but just listen to the show, can you just explain how it's made and when you pick that up and what it's made of?
Yeah, so the one that I have with one crystal here that I'm actually wearing, it's got pyrite around the edge, around the chain, and then it's a big chunk of Labradorite, or everyone says Labradorite, Labradorite. A lot of people say it differently. I find if you put a Scottish accent, it sounds like Labradorite. It just sounds like. A Labradorite is something I just started wearing last year, and actually it's funny crystals because you really do have to tune in and know what works with you, whether it's something to ground you or to help connect you to the higher. Labradorite is more about connecting you to your inner magic and your inner abilities rather than, seeking from above or below. And yeah, Jules, Julia Waller, who owns Joodaboo, a great friend of mine, lives down in Bruton. I met her since moving up to, this amazing area that is Somerset. And she saw, she said, you need to wear Labradorite, whatever.
Do it again in the Scottish accent. I think it works best when it's Scottish. Say it again.
Labradorite, yeah. And then the one with the multiple, I worked in a studio and I tuned in and chose each crystal, and she advises, so and I'd recommend to anyone. I mean, Davina McCall discovered her the other day and she's bought like 20 pieces. She's crystal creator to the stars. I mean, I urge anyone to look at her website, Joodaboo, 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 something like that.
Joodaboo, okay.
And
Joodaboo in Bruton, Somerset.
She is. She's based in Somerset, but she's online. So you can get things online. You can buy.
Find them on Instagram.
You can get them, but it's Joodaboo jewelry.
It looks so lovely on you. It's really just that piece, isn't it? That statement. And I'm going to ask you one last question. If you were to pass that on to anyone, who do you think it would rightfully go to? Maybe after your days, or who would you pass that piece on to? Is there anyone in mind?
Yeah, that's a lovely question. Well, I've got these two. I've got the one, the one that was being mentored, and this wonderful Labradorite. So the Labradorite I would give to my nephew, LV. So he's 11. He's a dude. I feel like he's got, the family lineage. He's sort of the same as my grandma, same as me. Got that kind of, just the spirit and the outlook and the flow and the confidence. And he's just a wonderful little dude. And he's the youngest of four girls my brother had. Well, my brother married, so he got together and had two girls with someone who'd already got two girls. He's got four older sisters. He's amazing. And I know he's going to be amazing. And he will have this. And the big one, I don't know, I feel the big one is so personal. It's almost like, I don't know, I would probably give it back to Earth, and where it came and actually be buried with it. It's like Tutankhamun.
Oh, do you know, it's just a joy to see you and to hear you, and thank you for those three really profound insights into your world. To your grandmother, Olive Kelly, God rest her and bless her in heaven, to the 3 trees in Derbyshire, and to that beautiful Labradorite necklace that you are wearing today, and the beautiful clear quartz pendant that is about to go and be restored. I hope you've enjoyed being a guest on these 3 things.
I really enjoyed it. And what a beautiful, wonderful concept you've got. So, just to sit and actually to talk in and around these things, and to sit and actually to be asked it, to remember these things and to honor it. And it's a wonderful thing you're doing. Keep it up. And I can't wait to tune into all of your others on this wonderful season.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you this summer, and take care. And there we have it. A huge thank you to our guest this week, and also to you, our listener. I am so very grateful for the time that you take to tune in and listen each week. So, if you have enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more episodes, then please press subscribe or follow now. Until next week, take care. Goodbye.